My name is Duncan Christy, and I am a musician and writer and creative. I was born in New York City, and I still live within the broader metropolitan area. I love the energy of New York, which gives virtually everything that a creative needs to keep going in terms of inspiration. I worked for several decades in magazine publishing, which was an interesting and exciting pursuit for me. It was very creative in its way, but when I had the opportunity to really work on a full-time basis on my own craft, my own music, I welcomed that. And the first real major work in this direction was a song cycle called the Blue State Blues that I composed during the middle of the last decade. One of the real pivotal experiences of my life was 3 weeks after I graduated from Harvard College. I found myself in the Bering Sea in Alaska working as a longshoreman and deckhand. And I really felt at that point that my life had begun, that I had done the things that people wanted me to do up until that point. But when I went off to that faraway place and that very interesting kind of situation where it was more prestigious to people that you'd been to college at all than you had been to a place like Harvard, it enabled me to start to be someone else and to really live my life. It was there that actually I began playing music more seriously because it was a faraway place, not a lot of people. People were grateful for what music they would hear. And I think that the gratitude and the support that I received during that time really started me in a direction that was significant for me. After Alaska, I lived in San Francisco for several years, where I had the good fortune to fall in with a number of very, very fine musicians. I was part of a choir called Voix Céleste. The Voix Céleste is one of the organ stops on the organ, and our choir leader liked it because apparently this particular organ stop is very slightly out of tune, the Voix Céleste, which means the celestial voice. And in that particular choir setting, we sang everything from medieval madrigals and motets all the way to contemporary compositions of our own. And I had a very interesting experience there that I think was influential, which was arranging a spiritual called I Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray for a 4-part men's chorus. And we would perform this, and the audience reaction was always very strong. I think that certainly, I can see now that the appeal of gospel music to me, with its energy and passion and its devotion, was very strong. I went to work as a writer in New York. I was a freelance commercial writer. And in the middle of the 1980s, I was working as a writer for magazines. I worked at different well-known public publishing houses in New York, including Condé Nast and Forbes, different places. And then I had the good fortune to come to a company in North Carolina in 1995 called Pace Communications. I was hired to take over the in-flight magazine of Delta Airlines, and we had a very profitable and mutually prosperous association for 14 years through almost the end of the last decade. And so that was really a long writing career, which gave me a lot of exposure to very good writers, very good artists and illustrators. And so I was very fortunate to have this, and moreover the association with North Carolina as a state, because I would come to North Carolina every month for 7 or 8 business days, and I would work with very talented colleagues who still are close and dear friends. I was very impressed with this state and a lot of its values and the warmth and the talent of the people here. It was quite a good ritual because I had all the energy of New York where I was living, but then an opportunity to work here in a very focused way with talented colleagues. During the middle of the last decade, I, like a lot of Americans, was very concerned about the direction that our country seemed to be taking, politically, economically, socially, culturally. And I composed a cycle of songs called the Blue State Blues, 18 songs for voice and piano. And it's divided into 2 parts, the dark side and the bright side. The dark side, I would tell audiences, was intended to, and these were the very words I used, sicken, outrage, and disgust you with what was going on. But the bright side was the far more important side because it was the positive side. It's the positive side. And my intention was, I hoped, to motivate you to become involved in some way. I would say at the end of performances, if you go home and do nothing, I failed. But if you go home and do something, and by something, get involved in an election, get involved in a local process which somehow benefits others or contributes directly to the positive energy of your community, then I will feel like we did something together. So the Blue State Blues actually sounds like the blues, and certainly had plenty of blues in a musical sense as we know it, but the key refrain in that song is, we've paid our dues, and now it's time to win, not lose, and paint the U.S. the Blue State Blues. So the approach was that the blues was not about loss or reversal or grief. It was the color, and is the color, that we plan to paint the United States in that election and this one too. Composing it, and particularly in the bright side of the cycle, I remembered what I regarded as a very heroic and noble act, and that was when on December 13th, 2000, Al Gore conceded the election. It must have been the bitterest day of his life, really, after having worked so hard and been trained so well for this job. But he saw that the impasse at that point was really fraying the country and its well-being, and he, as his family would have expected him to, certainly his father, who'd been a senator too, he conceded, and on we went. 6 paragraphs in the end of his concession speech, he says, "The battle ends tonight, but I do believe, as my father once told me, that defeat might serve as well as victory to shake the soul and let the glory out." And that phrase, "let the glory out," it was as if you had plugged me into the wall. When I read that, it was literally like I had been struck by lightning, because I immediately heard a strong up-tempo rhythmic song with "Let the Glory Out" as its title and as its chorus. And I came to the piano and was really guided to an accompaniment, to a framework for a song that really has a very simple purpose: to encourage us to let the glory out, whatever that means. You know, it's the other day I read something that I thought had a lot of wisdom, which is a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. And so it's a time when we face such challenges as a nation, as a civilization, as a culture. And what we need is for people who care about their communities and about their families and about their schools, all of which trickle up into what it means to be a nation, to concentrate on trying to give what we can to help us be the healthiest, sanest, most caring, most loving, most generous communities that we can be. As we think about this, we're all horrified by what's happened in Colorado, which shows us as a nation that there are sicknesses that we have to cure. And we can only cure them if we become involved, not just if we wring our hands, but if we directly get involved in ways that we know help others. So "Let the Glory Out" was a chance to project that, but when you write a song, the challenge is to express something in ways that are memorable and powerful and simple. I'm a firm believer, as so many are, that nothing has the power of music to convey a message at a very simple and powerful and memorable plane. And you can't put too much freight into songs. Your message has to be like a very good melody, simple. And it's got to reach people easily, quickly, and well. And so "Let the Glory Out" is a very simple message. As someone whom I know just said the other day, "Let the glory out" is a very powerful statement. I had never put it in those terms, but he's right. "Let the glory out" is a powerful statement. And the challenge to each of us to let the glory out each day is very real, and it's a challenge that we should try to meet and face and share and encourage others encourage others to themselves participate in. So let the glory out, let the glory out. It's time to be discovering just what it's all about. The voice of jubilation will tame the voice of doubt. And that's what I mean. The voice of doubt is the voice that keeps you on the sidelines. The voice of jubilation is the voice that puts you on the field, being competitive. The voice of jubilation will tame the voice of doubt. So open up that voice box and let the glory out.